Samuel Machishi is my guest today. He's one of the most recognizable faces on national television and has been for some time. They call him the COVID guy. Yeah, he was the. I feel like if there was supposed to be a COVID ambassador, it was supposed to be you, man. The only thing you didn't have was a medical degree.
And that obviously puts me aside.
Yeah, that just disqualifies you before you even get the job. But it's good to have you on the podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we obviously we know you for the news. That's like number one. But there's obviously a story behind that many people really won't get to see, and obviously it didn't just happen like a bracadabra. Like one Zambia, one nation. There's always obviously been a story, and I want to start from your early childhood. How was your childhood growing up?
Exciting, I should say, because I was born in Lusaka a couple of decades ago, not many decades, but a considerable number. Yeah, so in Lusaka, in Chipata compound, that's where I was born. I grew up as a normal little boy in the compound. It's there that my parents then, my father and my stepmother, because I didn't grow up with a mother. I'm told my mother died when I was 3. So my stepmother tried to get me enrolled into school. And don't think I'm too old. It's during those times when we used to be taught to do this for you to be considered for.
Oh yeah, grade 1.
Grade 1,
you can touch your ear, then, yeah, grade 1.
And they were still having to measure you with that tall ruler. Yeah, so it's like all those failed to get me into class. So my father then decided, okay, cool. We'll take you to the village. Yeah, and the fact that they were having some kind of challenges to have me raised up properly. So my grandfather called for me. That's how I was taken to Kabwe to go and start my grade 1 there, my primary education at Chunga Primary School. Yeah, so it's in the outskirts of Kabwe town. If you're approaching Kabwe town, you turn to your right. There's what they call the Elephant Head Hotel. They call it Kumutwe Wansof. So there's a road that passes there. So you proceed all the way to the Mulungushi Dam. It's quite very famous in that area. So off the road, you get into the bush. That's where I did my primary school.
Okay, I think I jumped the gun a bit. I want to address the elephant in the room. First of all, his dress code. He's too formal for the podcast. He was on TV, so yeah, I've forgiven him. I'm like the Steve Jobs kind of guy. Like, I'm just
on the easy.
Yeah, on the easy.
I prefer this one, except that the job doesn't tell me to be like, unless on a Friday.
Yeah, Fridays allowed. But anyway, no, it's the nature of the job. So how was it for you growing up with a single parent?
It's amazing because I didn't spend much time with my father again. Can you imagine?
So he was there, but
like not there.
Yeah.
When I was taken to the village, I think that's the little few years that I spent with him, those early years of my life. I could say between 3, when I'm told my mother died, to somewhere 7. Yeah, so I was with my father and my stepmother. And then went to the village from year 7 to somewhere 12. When I qualified to go to grade 8, by then you had to pass your grade 7. So I came back to Lusaka. My grandfather thought I should come back to Lusaka because then your father should take responsibility over your life. I've done what I could primary side. Now you are able to go to basic education, so let your father take responsibility. So that's how I was brought back to Lusaka in 1999. I still recall very well. Yeah, so I came to Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe Basic School in Garden Compound. So again, it's amazing. I only stayed with my father for 5 years, from 1999 to 2001 to somewhere 2003, 2004. Yes. Yeah. Then my father died. Yeah, when I was just wrapping up grade 12. So those are the few years I spent.
So at 3, you lost your mother. Then 2004, you lost your father as well. And then how did that change your life? Now being a double orphan, what were the dynamics at the time?
It's something that I can't explain because of the gravity of the situation that suddenly turned to be like that. I'll tell you that after my stepmother, my first stepmother died again, very unfortunate, and then my father married again. Yeah, so during the time I was coming back to Lusaka, within a week, that's when my father married a stepmother, the second stepmother. So I stayed with both of them until my father died. So life really turned around, especially when my father died. Everything just like, okay, just came to a standstill. I say so because, usually when there's a funeral, somebody has died and they have children, there'll be volunteers, or maybe they'll pick a certain uncle or auntie to take you. But that wasn't the case. And we were born, the two of us, myself and my older sister. We were both taken to Kabwe to go and grow up there. So my sister was taken up by my other grandmother, who is sister to our father who gave birth to our father. You see that connection? Yeah. So my sister remained in Kabwe. I came here to join father because of my advancing in school to go to basic education. And then my father dies now. I'm winding up grade 12. And then nobody shows up to say, okay, let's go now that you're alone. My father was renting. So the same house that he rented at the time of his death, I took it up to rent when I didn't have a job. What rescued me somehow was the fact that at the time of completing grade 12, there was an uncle, his young brother, who was working in the construction sector. So he just told me, you know what, you are a man. Come and start digging with us. Yeah, so that's how I was thrown in that sector. Started digging, pretty much a Dhaka boy, a garden boy, a gate man, and anything in between. Yeah, so that uncle of mine, unfortunately, died. Yeah, we never stayed together. He was somewhere and I was coming from somewhere to go and do the construction works. Yeah, so then really it was a dark period that I had to figure out how to go about navigating through the challenges of life at that very young age.
So for how long did you work as a Dhaka boy, as a garden boy, as a gate man in construction? How long was that?
That was from 2004 to 2005, because this construction site, it turned out to be, the owners of this site were the directors of Trade Kings. Yeah, so as we were working, they thought it was a group of about 11 vibrant gentlemen, I would say, with me being the youngest. They thought these guys are hardworking. So upon completing this project, they gave us contracts to go and work at the Trade Kings main plant. So we are placed in the paste plant where we used to make the famous when the dirty woman, the dirty gone. Yeah, so that's where I went. I in the construction site I worked for about a year, and then we went to Trade Kings where I worked 2005 to 2007, and then it is there that I was fired.
Where were you fired?
When I was in school, in grade 11, at school there was a press club and debate club. So I was very much involved in the two clubs. I became president of the debate club and press club. Then my friends thought I really had the energy for the media, and then they introduced me to the then ZNBC Radio 4 fan club. So I used to trek from Chipata compound to the mass media complex to attend the sessions every Saturday at 10 hours. And then because of my vibrancy, they thought I could be given a separate program from the main Radio 4 fan club presentation. We used to have a program called Calling Our Members. It had 5 segments. So each one of us members who could flock to ZNBC, if you prove yourself, you could be put on one of those segments. So each segment had about 5 presenters, so you could be one of the 5 presenters for 10 minutes in the 1 hour program that used to go on Radio 4. So quickly, within like a month, I made those advancements, and I regard this guy as one of those lecturers, even though ZNBC is not a training institution as in a university. So Gordon Mkelaba was for Radio 2, one of the senior producers. So that's how I was given a separate program from the Radio 4 fan club. So I started presenting this program. So it is this program that sustained my stay at ZNBC as a volunteer from 2003. Yeah, so the fan club was at some point banned. People stopped from coming. But because of this attachment I was with Radio 2 with this program, I kept going to ZNBC. So somehow that's how I survived. But when I got a job at Trade Kings, Even during those days of the construction, I used to attend my recordings at ZNBC twice in a week, Tuesday and Thursday. And then my voice used to be used in the marketing department for ZNBC. They used to give me some scripts, read, we think your voice is okay. So that became like a part of me. Even if I wasn't getting paid for it, I used to get paid on the other side. Because of the passion I had, I could abscond my official duties at this company to go and record on a Tuesday and on a Thursday. So when we were moved to the plant at Trade Kings, this is where I even gained momentum in voluntary work at ZNBC because I was given extra other programs in the Radio 2 department. So I had 2 extra programs which needed me to record, and then the marketing guys needed my voice as well. And I thought, wow, this is an opportunity for me to showcase what I've got. But on the other side, they said, you are getting paid here. So how then are you going there? And obviously it doesn't make sense. I mean, you are getting paid here. This is where your bread and butter is coming from, and you are going
For free.
for free things. I mean, are you insane or something? So my bosses wrote to me and they threatened me, but I just said, you know what? I don't know how to explain this, but I think this is what I think my mind is made up for. So I just received a letter one day to say, okay, we think this is enough, because I had absconded for a couple of days from work. So it's clearly I decided work. I couldn't argue with the letter. I just looked at it when I attended night shift one night. I looked at the letter. Okay, mission accomplished. I packed my bags and went home. And imagine you are renting. You're supposed to be eating. And when you are fired, obviously they'll just give you your leave days. And the rate of the salary then was very meager. What I got wasn't even enough to sustain me for the second month. And that's how I just found myself out.
All right. So, you get fired. Like you did say, obviously, you've got bills looking at you. Like, what is this guy thinking? What then happens? Do you still continue with ZNBC? Where now does your income start coming from?
Nowhere. And no hope for getting an income from the next person. I just have no idea how everything happened and how I just believed I would pull through. I believe one thing that helped me was the fact that I became detached from almost everyone family-wise, because in all those troubles, there was nobody that was involved in my decision, daily making of decisions. I just became like me. I didn't think about my sister because I knew she's out in the village, and by then she had gotten married. And then I didn't have to think of a father, a sister, because we are just the two of us, so I'm the youngest. She's probably the one that's thinking, how is this boy surviving? So that assisted me in a way, because now it was just me. So how I survive tomorrow, only God knows. But it was very difficult to a point that I didn't know what I'm going to eat when the sun shines. When it's the last day of the month, I didn't know where I was going to get the rentals from. And so I made a switch from the 2-roomed house where my father left me. I looked for a 1-roomed house. Not bedroomed, but roomed house. So I crossed to the other side of the compound. And there when I moved, the same monies that I got when I was fired is the one that I used to move into this smaller house, which was affordable. I still remember, I think it was 55,000 kwacha then. 55 kwacha.
55 kwacha.
Yeah, but just to get it was something. I remember having some arrears just to have to pay it. What made me survive was when I'm called to ZNBC to do these voiceovers. Sometimes, because I wasn't paid, and it was a voluntary thing. So these same marketers could tell me, okay, lero kulika 10 kwacha. So I could go, read, I get a 10. I keep, you know. Another day, maybe a week will pass, I'm just doing free and nobody gives me even something on sympathy. In the 3rd week, somebody gives you another, then you keep. That's how I used to find money to eat and mobilize enough, if all goes well, for me to pay in arrears. the rentals to the landlord. I remember at one point it was so severe that I didn't think I would survive another day, because there was literally nowhere where I could lay my hands in terms of a meal. And this is something that I never thought I could share with people. Yeah, so on this day, I was so hungry that, wow, this is where certain people would probably opt for something negative if they were in.
Yeah, like crime and stuff.
Yeah, but I thank God that maybe spiritually I was also grounded in the spiritual. That is what really made me to keep the composure. So I remember going to look for food in the bins around. Yeah, so I found this in Shima, in the bin, got it. Tactively, obviously, looking out for people. They don't need to look at you, otherwise they'll think you're mad. So tactively, I picked it up and went, and you peel off the outer part, which is, yeah, and then recooked it. And that saved my day on that particular day. So really, going to ZNBC became a part of me every day now, because that side, I'm no longer working. So now I kept going. I started going to ZNBC every day, with or without pay. And obviously, I didn't expect a pay.
And you
because
were
there was no
walking
pay.
every day?
I had to walk from Chipata compound to ZNBC.
How many kilometers is that?
That is over 10 kilometers, if I can look through my mind. You have to pass through Garden Compound, Olympia Extension,
No, that's
and
far.
Rhodes Park, and depending on the route.
Would you
that
say
you're using.
Heroes is closer to ZNBC than Chipata Compound?
It's the same.
So it's basically like
It's
from Heroes
basically
Stadium.
like, yes, because Heroes is
Matero
on the
that
far
side.
side. So Chipata, you are using the Kasangula Road.
Yes.
You cross the rail line up
Yeah.
there. Now to your right. That's where Chipata Compound is. So there's a station they famously call Shockers.
I'm not very familiar.
Olympia Africa.
Yes. I know
just
that place.
opposite
Yes.
that.
That's on
where-
Kasangula Road.
Yes,
Yes.
that's where I used to come from.
Wow. You see, there's some people that say, me, I can never work for free. I can never work for free. What kept you going? Were you hopeful that one day this whole working for free thing will pay off? Were there signs that would pay off, or it was just you blindly believing one day to pay off?
I would say I didn't blindly believe, but I strongly believed that I'll get it. The only thing that I strongly thought would disqualify me is the qualification part, because yes, I had a grade 12 certificate, but then again, who gets you into a college or university to get the paper to get the job? And when I did a couple of years, people at ZNBC began to notice my talent, and they thought I had it. I remember one time ZNBC employees were protesting. They wanted salary increment. And then they saw me enter. Then they said, chase him. I was called DJ Great, by the way. So DJ Great is coming. Chase him. This guy has talent. They may just say, put him on radio and he will sustain the station. You see. So they came to see the talent that I had. So the only thing now was the qualification. And by the way, when we were going to the Radio 4 fan club, it was a group of us. So most of the guys dropped out. They couldn't continue voluntarily doing certain things because they are not being paid. So others went to Radio Phoenix, Movie TV got a couple of them, and other stations. And these same ones were telling me, you know what, you have the talent. Just come and join us. And somehow I could say yes. There's a person that became like a brother to me. We were going in the same congregation. So he was living next door. I was here and he was here with his family. So sometimes I ate from his table. And he's one person that eventually became family to me. Yeah. So he was also telling me, you have talent, but why are you going to ZNBC every day to do things that they're not paying for? When he listens to me on radio, they see me, they hear my voice on TV during those adverts, and they were saying, you've got it, but why do free things? And guess what? It went on for 9 years until 2012.
You worked for free for 9 years?
9 years.
And you're still in that same one room with us?
Yes.
For 9 years?
9 years. Yeah. So those people that became closer to me, like that congregation mates, Mr. Ebo Tembo and his wife Patricia, they are the ones that became family now. So I could eat from their table, and I literally became his boy in the house. I learned how to drive on his vehicles. Yeah, so that's how my life. But you know, it's very strange. Even him and his wife are amazed to now get to learn that that's what I was going through, because I didn't want to tell anyone because it was going to bother them. So I didn't want to do that. So I could pick up my bags, go to the Kingdom Hall, smiling, go out in the service as Jehovah's Witnesses do all the time. And this is one thing that you, Swilanji, and I, and everybody out there watching us, today, you could have walked out there and smiled at someone and they smiled back at you without not knowing that deep in the heart, they probably died to ask for a coin from you. You know? But they just can't say it. And you can't see it on their face. All you see is a smile, and you smile back. There are a lot of people out there really who are going through very difficult situations, except that we can't read and we can't see it.
So your interactions with people, you talk to this person, at some point you're hoping that on their own they'll give you something, money or whatnot, and then they don't, and then you walk away disappointed.
Imagine. And one thing is, what poverty does that I've realized is that when you are walking, you always want, and you always wish, Sanga gwese koche tu kwacha. You know, you're walking, you're just thinking maybe somebody would drop money, or as you look around, as you walk, maybe just some money is lying somewhere. So it was really a time that knocked me down, and prayerfully and hoping with belief and determination, I think that's what kept me going. I kept thinking one day I'll make it. How? I don't know. And then, strange enough, I don't want to call them supervisors. These are people that looked out for me because I wasn't working at ZNBC, but they became my supervisors. They kept telling me to say, you know, whatever you do, however you come to do your education in terms of college or university, please do it. So now I kept looking for these Machishi works, which I couldn't find. Lucky enough, there's one marketer who came across this person that wanted to advertise. And so they wanted to use a certain voice. And this marketer was also a part-time marketer at ZNBC. You know, those guys that get commissions.
Yeah, the agent.
So I said, I think I like the way you present. So I'll link you to this person. So this man has a hardware in Garden Compound. So we went there. Then he said, okay, cool. I'll be paying you 100 kwacha per presentation of this program that I'm going to pay for to advertise my products. Then we said, great, 15 minutes. That's how I started presenting this program. I did it for 2 months, so I could do it twice in a week. So when I do it today, 100 kwacha, tomorrow, 100 kwacha. Again, so I could get 2, 4, 6, 800 kwacha per month. Quickly, within that very month, I enrolled at the University of Zambia Ridgeway campus under extension studies. I did a certificate in basic reporting and communication skills. Quickly. And I still remember that was 6,500 kwacha. I think we paid 650 kwacha. Yes, now. That's what I quickly paid. And now, imagine, I had to now walk from Chipata compound to mass media, from mass media to UTH at the Ridgeway campus for lessons.
And the lessons were in the evening?
Were in the evening, yes. 3 days in a week. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I walked from home to ZNBC to record whatever I'm recording, then walk from ZNBC to Ridgeway campus for my lessons from 17 hours to 19:30. Then walk. In fact, this time around it's not walking, it's running. From Ridgeway at 19:30 hours, Ridgeway campus, UTH, to Chipata compound.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember we did those programs in 6 months. So lucky enough, I managed. And terrible enough again, this contract between me and that person and this marketer was terminated. But it was terminated at the point that I had already accomplished the 2 certificates and I had already fully paid. So that's how I managed to obtain these certificates, and That was by 2009 itself. And then I kept the papers. And now looked forward to getting an opportunity to get a job at ZNBC. I remember 2 opportunities to get a job as a DJ in Radio 4 passed me by. The first ones, obviously, I didn't have the qualifications. The next one, yeah, others were picked again, and I remained, and I kept believing. Until in 2012, that's when I received a call. I was at a workshop. A friend of mine, again, had got a contract to train these guards, security guards, this time round. So he told me, you come and operate the PowerPoint for me. So that's how I went there, and I was operating the PowerPoint as I was training these people. And then I received a call. Oh, this is ZNBC Human Resource. Is this Samuel Machishi? Then I said, yes. Okay, we are happy to inform you that you've gotten a job as a part-time radio announcer. Then, okay, thank you. I just put the phone down, and I went to this guy and told him, okay, I've just received a call that I have a job now. Then the guy was more excited than I was. Then he asked me, you're not excited? I said, I'm excited deep in the heart because now I know I'm guaranteed I have a monthly income. But being excited that I've got a job, this is what I do every day. So the only difference is that now there's money. So 2012, June, that's when I was picked by ZNBC to start work as a radio announcer in Radio 2.
Through all of this, you mentioned earlier the spiritual aspect, meaning you are believing in God for a breakthrough to come through. And like you said, 9 years working for free, 9 years walking to and fro. And that's the cold season, the hot season, the rainy season, walking to work, going back home, running back home. Did you ever feel like God let you down or something?
Fortunately not. And it's one aspect that kept me going. Otherwise, I was going to leave it there. So it just made me believe that one day the sun will shine despite the circumstances that I'm in. And a few other congregation mates who were more advanced in career, they could tell me, we listen to you, and we know that one day you can make it as long as you do not get to give up. So a few of those voices are the ones that kept me moving. And those at ZNBC in the radio department, Radio 2 to be specific, they really got me going because they kept telling me, one day there's going to be an opportunity. Just keep coming, keep on. They could give me certain examples like, even this guy started like this. Even if some of them might not have walked for as long as I did, they kept telling me, keep the faith and keep your dedication. But they were worried that, such characters are the ones that when you pick them on, they stop being zealous as they are today.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for that time maybe I can prove myself. Yeah.
And so the job you got then was part-time.
It was.
Part-time. Run me through what the job required. And for how long were you part-time? Because obviously the ultimate goal for you was, I'm going through all of this because I want to be a full-time member of staff, enjoy the benefits that come with being a full-time employee, and, just like everyone else. Run me through that.
You will be amazed that I didn't stay for too long as a part-timer. My job required that I go on radio and do the continuity announcing for 4-hour shifts, as it is common known in the radio circles. So for instance, if the shift starts at 9, I'll be in at 9 in studio 9 to 13 hours. I will have done my job. And then I was required to do some newscasting every hour. At the same time, I had other programs that I had to produce and present at the same time. So basically, as a part-time, you're just supposed to show up, do your shift, and leave. But that wasn't the case for me. I also had to do other programs that
the ones that continued, the ones from the fan club and whatnot.
Got me into there. So I didn't have to drop them. I had to continue. So I started staying at work as much as these other guys did, from 8 to 17. 8 to 17. And if I'm doing a shift in the night, I could show up at 13 to 20 to midnight sometimes, because of some shifts could be at 20 to midnight. And then June, July, August, we were told, in fact, there was an advert that was stuck on the notice board. Radio 2 needs 3 full-time radio announcers or producers this time around because you graduate now. Then I applied. In September, I was called to say you're one of the shortlisted candidates. So we are supposed to attend interviews. So there was myself, there was Rafa Kumwenda, Mabel Knight, Monde Chaba, now on the Copper Belt, and others that showed up for that particular interview. So we did interviews. 1st October, I was called to say you are hired as a full-time producer for Radio 2. So only just a few months as a part-timer.
Were you excited that time?
I don't know how I
Because the first time you're not excited.
You know, even this time round, it just happened like, okay, this is just a step ahead. I have no idea. Maybe it's because of lack of having people closer to you that would celebrate
with you.
Yeah, I think that could have played a significant role in. Even now, I'm not a celebrant. I would achieve something. People who will celebrate are those around me, and they'll push me to want to celebrate. So I end up celebrating. Yeah. So 1st October 2012, I was picked by ZNBC this time round as a full-time producer for ZNBC Radio 2. And again, things moved really fast. Maybe it was a compensation and it was payback for all those years, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really thank God because October 1, I get a full-time job just months from June when I was called as a part-timer. In November, the late Faith Kandaba was around then. She was in charge of the newscasters. So she was listening to me do a shift on radio, read the news. Then she followed me and told me, I want you to go in the studio, read the news and put it on CD and give it to me. So I read the news, put it on CD and gave it to her. Then the following day she just told me, okay, come. I'm going to schedule you for the main news. I know you know what it means for radio. So I was put trial version. I'll read the bulletin at 18 hours, which I did. And she thought I did well. So she put me on the network news, the one that we read at 13, 15, and 20 hours. I did it, and she thought I did better. Before the end of that year, 2012, November itself, towards the end of November, she drafted me on TV2. Imagine. And all this, how I did celebrate, I don't know. All I know is that I had a job, and this is an extra added responsibility that I was given, and I had to do it. The first news I read was at 6 hours. Obviously, not too many people watched it. The next day, it wasn't my turn. Somebody was scheduled. They didn't turn up. And then she tells me, there's no one to read 14-hour news. Can you read it on TV2? Then I said, okay, cool. I'm dressed for it. Then I went and read it. The moment I read it, I received calls from people. Is it really you? And I was like, okay, so it's a big thing. And then when I read the 1315 news for the first time, I received a call from a few relatives to say, is that you that has put our name on the national radio? And I was like, oh, who is this? And then, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's me. Oh, congratulations. So to people, it was a big thing. But for me, it was normal. This is what I was looking for. I've got it, and I have it now. So let me just do the job.
Wow. And something. So for me, all those milestones, all that happening now, and okay, before I go to my question, now how did the 19 hours news happen? Because that's the bigger deal.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's the premier. It's the Premier League.
Champions League.
It is. So 2012, I stepped foot into the TV2 studios to read the news, and it's all Faith. Unfortunately, I think should be a year plus, she passed away. And then the 19 hours news came. First, before 19 hours was the Zanis News.
Yes, Zanis
when
News.
Zanis News was introduced, I was among the first to read Zanis News because Zanis didn't have the newscasters. So they said ZNBC provide the newscasters. So I was amongst them. I read for about a few months. The ZNBC TV main news, 19 hours, was dual casting then. And we had giants on that set. Chances Kazi was there. Herbert Mutabi was there. Namakao Mkelabai was there. And other big casters. Jack Marley was one of them. So on this day, I come to work as a radio too, because that's my point of reporting, and these other TV roles were just a plus. So now Chitalu Mlenga calls me. I go to see her in the office, and then she tells me, you are going to read 19 hours news tonight. I was like, okay. Then she saw my face, was like, what, am I going to do this? Then she started to bring me up to speed, like, relax, you can do this. Then she tells me, you are going to read with Herbert. Yeah, so you have this giant guy, not giant in stature, but giant in the production, and the experience in the job is massive. So you are going to be with him for the 19 hours news tonight. So you need to go home. I don't know how your schedule is in the radio department. Just find out how it is. Then we'll give you a driver to go and change. Then I said, okay, cool. What are the requirements? Then she ran me, okay, this is the script. When you see this is an indication of what. And then she told me, she gave me one point that I've not forgotten even now. She told me, when you're on set, there are two casters. There's going to be a point when you will start talking. There's going to be a point when Herbert will talk. So when it's you on TV, the camera is on you. That's your moment. Grab it. Because people are not looking at Herbert, they are looking at you. Then I said, okay, cool. So I was given a driver, went home, I changed, I came back. 19 hours. The clock was ticking. Imagine, 18:30, we sat there, went through the scripts. 18:45, pressure building. 18:58, now the adrenaline is really running. I think it's the strength that I've told myself from when I was in grade 8 that I think I can be a journalist or a broadcaster in this case. I feel good when I'm talking in front of the camera, I think, even the microphone. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to do this. It came to us, the SIG went up. Whee! Imagine that bed. And then you're thinking, what's the first word I'm going to say? Okay, so the main anchor goes into it. One Zambia, one nation. My name is Herbert Mutabi, and I'm Samuel Machishi. The headlines. So he reads 2 headlines, I read 2. And then we start changing. And then one thing that has always helped me, I think, for TV production is that when I'm on TV, I don't think of any other person outside watching me. I just think about what I'm doing, the job. Yeah. If it's to read, I'll read. If it's to talk, I'll talk. I think that is one thing that helped me. I just said, I'm going to read. I don't care who's watching. I'll just read. And I read it. After the 19 news, Herbert shook my hand and said, well done. You have done well. Now, you want to ask him a lot of questions, obviously, to say, at what point do you think I did well? How did I come out there? You just keep quiet. And then the camera guy walks to you and said, wow, is this your first time? Yes. You've done very well. Then phone calls starts to come. You've done well. SMSs. You almost become big-headed instantly. Yeah. Again, I've told myself to say, when people praise you too much, think of the opposite. Just even a percentage of the opposite, take it to be true. To say, if they are saying I've done better, I think I haven't done better. Let me do better next time. Next time I sat with Namakau. She's equally one of the experienced newscasters we've had, senior broadcaster in the game. We sat together. For her, she was very expressive. Before the news, she told me, you know what I've observed? This is your strength. Do this, do this. You are a very good caster. We went into it. Afterwards, she evaluated me immediately. You've done well here. Next time, do this and this. And the rest is history.
Do you ever go back to look at those tapes?
Unfortunately, I would love to go back to the library now that you've mentioned it.
Yeah. I think it's good to go back.
Mm.
And so through all of this, what are the lessons you learned that really keep you going even today? So much so that no matter what happened, you still cannot give up.
The strength that I've sustained first and foremost in believing that when you have your mind, your head, your energies focused on saying, I will do that, I think that's number one. When you just believe, like the way I believed, one day, it doesn't matter how and what it takes, I will be in this industry. That determination, the focus, the desire, that has always kept me going. And I think that's one thing that if I want to get something next done, I would do it based on those principles. Pretty much that. Otherwise, every person out there that feels they can do it, as I think what sways people is negative energy from others. And sometimes because of what you are going through, you think you cannot make it.
Yeah.
I had friends up to now from the school where I started my primary school who thought that wasn't me until they saw me face to face to say, so it's you. One of my teachers, primary school teachers, he's still a teacher in Kabwe town this time around. He drove from Kabwe to ZNBC to just come and prove that this is Samuel that I used to teach in grade 5. We shook hands and now that I know that for sure it is you. So a lot of people that don't believe in us are the ones that will put us off the tangent. But for as long as you believe yourself, I've never been influenced by anybody, even those of my age, the so-called peer pressure. I have never succumbed to it. And if there's such a thing as adult pressure, it has only worked in positive instances where I also believe that this is good for me. Then they will influence me to do that. But if I focus my energy on doing this, I'll do it.
Wow. The other thing I want to find out from you is now obviously you came from, like the worst of the worst, got your education. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Last week you got your degree?
Yeah.
Was that worth celebrating?
It was worth celebrating. And again, I had to be caressed by somebody to say, jack up, this is your moment. Go out there and celebrate. The other friend of mine that I live with in Kamala South was telling me, but boy, all these achievements, when you look back at your life, where you are coming from and these things that you've achieved, you should find a day to celebrate these achievements. And I think I agree with him. I should find a day to just look back and have a day to just take stock of all that.
So right now, talking about looking back right now, when you look back, what runs in your mind?
A very successful person. From a poor guy to a very successful. I'm not rich, by the way, but when I look back, I look at this person that's coming from a poor background who has passed through all these challenges and now he's successful in his own right. Because by then, like I mentioned, I didn't know if I'm going to eat when I wake up. All I knew was, okay, thank God, I'm up and about. Let's see what the day will offer. But today, since that June 2012, I've never bought a small pack of mini meal called Pamela. That was pretty much a normal thing for me back then. A 10 kwacha that somebody gives me went a long way. It could sustain me for the whole week. Because by then, 15 where you buy a Pamela, you buy it in 2 kwacha, you keep, and then you buy a cooking oil, that's small cooking oil in that plastic, vegetables. The whole week is gone. But today, I can afford all the meals and some in-between meals. My daughter can go to school with shoes, which I never wore when I was grade 1 up to all the way to 7.
You're going barefooted?
Barefoot. And it was a longer distance than walking from Chipata compound to the mass media complex. I used to come from a village called Mponge village, passing through another village into another village. So it wasn't a strange thing. I'm a very successful person in my own right.
What would your message be to people who are, because there's some people right now who are going through what you went through right now, and they can't see a life beyond the nearest corner. For them, they have no idea where a breakthrough will come from. Maybe you had hope. No, maybe ZNBC one day will come through. Some people have got nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I sympathize with them, and I sympathize with you for sure. Because life might look like there's nothing after your palm out here, you can't get there. That's how it might look. But what I can say is that as long as you are alive, you have the capacity to turn the things around. You can turn the tables around. The step that you can take for your own future is what is very important. The decision you will make today will affect what your tomorrow will be. there's a lot of looking down upon people that are coming from such backgrounds, from a school environment, university environment, college, or out in society. Put it aside. Forget about it. Think about the decision you will make today. If it is manual work you've got to start doing, do it. If you've got to pick papers, wash them, and go and sell at the market to get you started, do it. Never mind who looks at you. That step you take today is the step that will turn things around tomorrow. Look at the president, Hakainde Hichilema. People were almost mocking him to say he's a kachema, isn't it? Like, he's just a shepherd. That's what I did also. I went out in the bush to herd cattle for my grandfather. And he did that. He grew up as a rancher and is a successful businessman. But they used this little side of his life to mock him. Imagine if he followed and listened to that. He wasn't going to make it. But he pushed aside all that negativity that was coming from the people, focused on the bigger goal that he had. And there he is, Mr. President today. So you too can turn the tables around. And one thing that probably maybe I should have done also that could have maybe given me more strength is when you look at and talk to different people. You could be in a situation today, Sui, and think, wow, I have no tomorrow. That same situation, if you explain to your friend and then allow that friend of yours to tell you the situation they're going through, you will think your situation is nothing. So sometimes when you interact in networking with people, you will be amazed. Even people that commit suicide, it's because they have not told the second person. But if they did, they'll be amazed to understand that the problem they are going through is nothing they can pull through. I think that way society will be built to look at situations differently.
What would your top 5 advice be to people? I know you've mentioned some things here, but what would your top 5 advice be to people who are chasing a dream? Maybe your dream was to get a job as a producer or to get a full-time job and get your life out of poverty. And the others who are chasing a dream, not yet there, but you're still hoping something will happen. Generally, what 5 things would you advise?
The first one is, first of all, check your mates. That's number one. Your friends, the friendship that you keep will either bring you down or raise you up. It's biblical. Bad company will certainly spoil good habits. The second would be you yourself. Have some kind of moral fiber to channel your energy in a specific direction. If you say, I'm going to achieve this, focus on it. Don't let anyone. I've heard of parents that have made their children change their career path because they said, no, us, we want you to be this. So try to stand up to such pressure. I'm not saying be disobedient to your parents, but just follow what you believe. Convince somebody. I remember when my father was still alive, I was in grade 11 when I started going to Radio 4 Fan Club. He told me, you can't be a journalist. And every time when I could go to the Radio 4 Fan Club and present, and he tunes to radio in the night, and deliberately we could tune to radio for him to listen, he could tell me, forget about it, you're not going anywhere. But I just told myself, I'm going to get this. So that would be the second one. Be determined that you will do that particular, you will achieve the goal that you want to achieve. The other one is the aspect of you trying to find out if at all it's going to, is this reality? Can it be real that you can do it? Because there are others who would want to become bankers, and yet when you try to survey around or research, you have no capacity. You can't do it. So for me, I looked around. I could write news stories even before I entered the school for journalism. I had the interest. So do you have the passion for that which you want to achieve? Because if you have the passion, it doesn't matter how much you get paid. If it's little, you will do it because you love it. Yeah, so basically that. The next one is find out from the people, what are the requirements for you to get this job? We are talking about education qualifications. Obviously, grade 12 is what gets you started. After that, what next? So that will matter a lot. The last one, obviously, is just you getting focused. Be focused on making sure that all these plans that you've put together now begin to work. Create a pathway to achieve your target. I created a pathway. Obviously, I was in school. Lucky enough, my friends were so observant. They linked me to the Radio 4 Fan Club. That was a path. From the Radio 4 Fan Club, I looked around and said, if the Radio 4 Fan Club is not there, am I staying? No, I can't. Then I asked around, and they said, there are certain idol programs on Radio 2 that you can do. They require presenters, but it is for free. Can you do free things? I said, yes, I would. I went in there. The Jofo Fan Club was banned. I remained. So I created the path. And eventually that path led me to where I am today.
Thank you very much, Sam.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's a good story, man. Like I know you, but I never knew that side of you.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are a lot of people that need this kind. I think, well, like you said, you're going through something, and you hear someone else who went through it and they came out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the kind of hope we need to have. Because if you just sit down and you're just on your own, that's why the suicide thing comes in.
Of course.
Because you feel like there's no one else who's going through worse. It's just me. I'm the only one. And
there's one thing that I've found that is so discouraging amongst the young people, especially today, where if you want to try out an opportunity that comes out in public domain, already you think, no, they've already caught their friends. I think that we should get it out of the way. Let's begin to cultivate that spirit of let me try. When you try, let it fail. If they call you, give it your best shot. I think that way most of the young people out there will not just relax and say, who knows? Maybe what you are thinking is what the next guy is thinking. And no one will apply. If you applied, you'll be the only one and you'll be picked.
No, thank you so much.
Great.
All right. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the video, and also share the video. Tell a friend about this conversation. If you know someone who's going through what he's gone through, and sometimes I feel like also conversations like what is shared help us have a spirit of gratitude. Like, you may not go through what you went through, but you just know to say, look, whatever I have, even if a job pays you 1,000 kwacha, it's just being grateful. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for being a part of today's podcast.